Hi, it's Jackie here with the LGFA, and we're on a call today looking ahead to a bumper weekend of ladies football action. The TG4 All-Ireland Senior Quarterfinals down for decision. We have 2 relegation playoffs as well, and we have 3 All-Ireland Under-16 Finals on Sunday. So to chew the fat and shoot the breeze, I've got Darren Kelly from Galway Bay FM and a well-known local reporter in that neck of the woods. I have Michelle Ryan, former Waterford star, and I have another former intercounty star, Emer Flaherty from Galway, is also on the call. So we're top heavy with Galway, and we've Waterford thrown into the mix. And I'm Tipperary, but that doesn't matter when I'm talking to such esteemed company. How are you, folks?
Oh, good.
Jackie, how are you?
Good to have you on. Michelle, we'll start with your good self. Obviously, it's small margins in these championships, and Waterford, instead of looking forward to the knockout stages, are instead looking ahead to a relegation match with Tipperary in Pilltown. I suppose there's 2 potential bites of the cherry, Michelle. You win on Saturday, you're okay. You lose on Saturday, you get a second chance. I presume both teams, all 4 teams indeed, on Saturday, Laois, Cavan, Waterford and Tipperary, will just want to get a win and make sure that they're not going into that winner takes all clash a week later. What's the vibe in Waterford, Michelle, and how do you reflect upon the group stages of the championship and where they are now?
Yeah, Jackie, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, there's no bones about it. They're disappointed to be in this situation. Would have felt the start of the year was going pretty well, and it just shows, I suppose, can you really count on league form when you're coming into championship? Championship just seems to be, and we all know it already, really, it's a whole different animal. And we've seen that not just in Waterford's story of this championship, even the likes of Meath and Donegal and so on, and their form as well compared to league and championship. But yeah, Waterford are disappointed to be in that position. They were in a similar position last year as well, and I think would have felt that they've done a lot of good work over the last 12 months. Have been very competitive at time against some serious opposition, but the key thing was that level of competitiveness wasn't able to up a level when it came to Donegal and Meath in their group games. But look, it's you say you're from Tipperary, and that doesn't matter, but it'll matter between you and me on Saturday, Jackie, because we both know each other so well, and have come across each other numerous times. Only once this year in the Munster Championship, and Waterford won by 2 points. But I think going into this game, Waterford will know that they can win the game. And if you look back over the years, I mean, Waterford went down to intermediate in 2009, came back up in 2015. And if you look at the records, it's been such a topsy-turvy time since then. We've competed in 3 quarterfinals. So we've been in the top 8 3 times. But just on the flip side of that, we've competed in 3 relegations as well. Tipperary probably not so consistent and not so steady in that regard, having won the 27 intermediate, went back down then to intermediate in 2018, back up again in 2019. So I suppose their record in this scenario isn't as good as Waterford, but like you said, it'll be all to play for. It's on the day. It's who wants it the most. It's who wants to avoid being in that last game, where, as you said, winner takes all, and it determines their whole outlook for next year and maybe even beyond.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, those 2 games. We'll be live streaming both of the relegation playoffs, Laois against Cavan and Waterford against Tipperary, both on Saturday. 3 senior quarterfinals on Saturday. Emer and Darren, I'm going to bounce over to you guys. I'll be up in Salt Hill on Saturday, Galway against Mayo. Emer, how do you evaluate Galway at the moment? Obviously, look, they lost the league final, they lost the Connacht final, but in the All-Ireland series, they seem to have regrouped and have been very impressive to date, and putting up some big scores as well, and 2 very impressive wins against Cork and Tipperary, and now they have a lovely chance to get one back over on Mayo. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I suppose, like Michelle said there, Jackie, this year, especially the league championship comparisons, there's just no comparison in that regard. Galway were in the league final, suffered a terrible, defeat against Kerry. We thought that they'd make amends maybe in the Connacht final, but just really didn't show up in Castlebar on the day. And then, I think myself and Darren were delighted to be present and see them overcome Cork in Pearse Stadium in the group stages. And to be honest, that it's rarely been done in, and I don't think ever in championship have we gotten one over Cork. So, it was a huge occasion, and I really think that they redeemed themselves hugely on the day, and the performance was super. Although, you knew it wasn't going to be a knockout situation. Cork did come to Galway knowing that, regardless, there was going to be another chance, but just the performance and the morale shown by the Galway team on the day was huge. And I think I think I suppose the aspect of revenge and the home advantage for Galway on Sunday will hopefully get them over the line, and you'd hope to see that kind of performance coming out again.
And Darren, Emer talks about that victory over Cork. I was struck by the reaction of the players afterwards and how pumped they were by that one. That result meant an awful lot to them. Particularly, I know Nicola Ward was quite vocal afterwards, in terms of some of the criticism they may have taken after that league final and after the Connacht final. Very significant win, that one, Darren. And that's, it obviously set them right up to go on and beat Tipperary. And now here they are in the knockouts again.
Yeah, well, Jackie, when you think about it, Galway had a great league run up until the final game of the group stages against Kerry, and then over 3 games, they shipped 11 goals, took 3 bad beatings, including in Croke Park, and of course the Connacht final as well against Mayo. So confidence, people outside the camp wouldn't have been high on Galway and what they could do going forward. And of course, as Emer touched on as well, Galway had never beaten Cork in senior championship, going all the way back to when Cork came through to win in the 2005 final. So they were really, really up for that game. Look, at the end of the day, the one great thing is we have the 8 best teams in the country playing these quarterfinals this weekend, and there's very little between the 8 of them. And Waterford are probably team 9, going back to what Michelle was saying as well, just missing out on this occasion. But Galway would have been fired up for that. Look, they took stock. They had 6 weeks or so to take stock of where they were. They made a few changes to the starting team, some enforced by injury, and they just went out and played with passion. Look, we know how good Cork are, and Cork going to be knocking on the door, no doubt, as well. But Galway would have been up for that. They had to come back with a statement after the disappointment of the 3 previous games. And again, because it was Cork, and Emer will tell you bad days against Cork in her own playing career there as well. And we've seen them recently too in quarterfinals and semi-finals. So they were fired up for it. They knew the significance of the game, Jackie, but also too, just one point before I stop, as Emer mentioned, the atmosphere, and it was just a fantastic atmosphere in Pearse Stadium that day, and to see the home and away games through the group stages and the reward for the group winners to have the home games, that would have been in Galway's head as well, to get those 2 results and have this home match on Saturday.
Yeah, let's hope we get big crowds out as well, because they're 4 cracking quarterfinals. Darren, while we have you on, it would be remiss of us to not congratulate you on your recent wedding in May. So I hope wedded bliss.
Thank you very much.
Is the order of the day so far. And Michelle, best wishes to Aileen Wall, who's getting married tomorrow, you told us as well. So nice to have that bit of happiness around. So we best wishes to everybody. Michelle, just looking across those quarterfinals at the weekend, they're 4 cracking games. I mean, you've got obviously Galway Mayo with the local rivalry. You've got Kerry and Meath, which is a repeat of last year. Armagh Cork, very interesting game. And Donegal and Dublin for the 3rd year in a row in a quarterfinal. Donegal, of course, with a tactical masterclass, you might call it, last year to frustrate Dublin and win by 6 points, I think it was, on the day. Austin Stack Park and Tralee Saturday evening, Kerry and Meath. That's tasty, isn't it?
Absolutely. And do you know what, when I saw the draw for the quarterfinals, I genuinely couldn't wait for this weekend, because look, we've been saying it for a while that it just feels this championship is open, and that's the thing. And the teams that are pitted against each other, it's not a cut and dry case of who's going to come out of this. We might have our inklings here and there, but you're basing it on maybe some of the performances you've seen, or maybe just a gut instinct, because we've seen as well that sometimes the performances we've seen, can we read too much? It's just game by game, and that's the beauty of it. But look, with regards to Kerry and Meath, down in Tralee, and I have to say, I think one of the most complete performances I saw of Kerry this year was down in Tralee when they bet Dublin in the league, and they were awesome down there. Their style of play, they are so dangerous. I'm nearly certain they're probably the highest scoring team in the senior, and their ability to transfer from kick out right up straight away into the hands of Louise Emer Flaherty Hannah O'Donoghue up there in front of goals. The use of the traditional style of play, the Kerry kick pass, moving, bypassing players, bypassing crowds, bypassing the press, it has been really impressive. So now to have the home venue down there now with Meath this time, I think that's going to be absolutely incredible. And it's going to be a proper test of Meath now. It's going to be, I suppose when you've seen what Meath have gone through, sometimes when you make those changes for a few weeks, it will kind of keep you going and you'll get a bit of a buzz out of it. You'll get a bit of momentum out of it. But this is now do or die. And this is the real test of, are they settled? Are they back in their structure? Are they really comfortable in playing in their styles? Because there is no doubt that the Kerry are going to pit every one of them to the test. And I have to say, I have a feeling it could be Kerry. I really do. I think my gut is going with Kerry, but I'm looking forward to the battle.
Okay, right. So that's one for Kerry. So we'll come back to you for your remaining weekend predictions, Michelle, before we knock off here. Emer, Armagh Cork is going to be like you've seen Cork. They obviously recovered from the Galway defeat and beat Tipperary to book their place in the last 8, and now they have to make a long trip to the Box IT athletic grounds in Armagh to play the host. There should be a big crowd there as well from Armagh as well. So interesting fixture.
Yeah, an interesting one. I suppose, look, Armagh will be delighted that they have home advantage for this one. Especially, Cork having to travel up, it's no mean feat. Having to just trudge across the country and make sure you get your win there as well. But Armagh, Division 2 champions this year, they pipped Mayo in the group stages, and I suppose I've always expected super things from Armagh, every year. Sometimes they disappoint, sometimes they surprise and shock. You don't know what to expect on any given day, but I do think they have the potential to, hit the ground running and really, take this Cork team. But then you look at Cork, and obviously they felt the blow of the Galway game in Pearse Stadium, and then came about and just blitzed Tipperary in the next group stages. So and then you look to the Munster Championship and the way that they just wrote off Kerry as well. So I think Cork are just gliding along in the background. They did suffer the defeat, but I would be afraid of what they could produce, in the next game or more. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, very much so. And Darren, I'll chat to you about Donegal Dublin briefly. Donegal, relegated from Division 1, and then they go and win the Ulster title. And then they go and they come out of their group on top, and they beat Meath along the way to get a home quarterfinal. And now they've Dublin. And, Dublin will be wary of them because Dublin obviously lost to them last year. How do you read this? Could this be another Donegal win? Or will Dublin have learned enough to a transitional Dublin, let's be honest about it too?
Yeah, no, like first things first, it's amazing what one result can change everything. And you just mentioned the final there. Let's not paint over Donegal. We're very, very poor in the league. Deservedly were the team that came down. And confidence, again, wasn't high in them going into the Ulster Championship, let alone this All-Ireland series. But they beat Armagh. They get themselves going. And that victory against Meath the last day in the group stages was massive for Maxi Kern and his team moving forward. Look, we know the talents of players in Donegal there. We're surprised they haven't made an All-Ireland final in one way or such. But they brought in, they have the McLaughlins there as well. They have good, strong players throughout. And I'm very, very curious of this young Abigail Temple Agogo,
yes,
if I'm pronouncing that right as well. It's really settled in, and she's only a minor as well. And again, home advantage. They're bringing Dublin. But you just mentioned earlier on, Jackie, these two teams met in the quarterfinal last year, and Dublin won't forget that. While Dublin are in transition, they still have players. Mick Bowen has always made a point, sometimes maybe too much, has made a point of giving as many players game time as he can, and he'll probably help transition. I watched them against Kerry, and I thought, look, Dublin missed an awful lot of chances there as well. And also Louise Martig was unmarkable on the day as well, the way she played for Kerry to get them that result. Carla Rowe got 3-6 the last day as well. You have Niamh Heatherton, Jennifer Dunn there as well, and a few new players coming into it. Look, Dublin are going to be really, really up for this. Dublin are still one of the top 2-3 teams in the country. But I will admit, out of the 4 games, and even listening to Michelle and Emer talking, they were all so hard to call. And this, I'd be shading for Dublin for this one, just simply because they have the motivation from last year, and we know the players they have. But Donegal now, it's like they've shackled off the bad form earlier in the season, up in Ballybofey, what an occasion as well. And again, and we're not hyping these games for the sake of hyping, and that's the gas part. All 4 games are very, very difficult to call, but I will edge towards Dublin, but very, very narrowly.
Yeah, I was watching the draw unfold, and it was like, you're oohing and ahhing and gasping as the pairings came out. It was absolutely phenomenal. And just to note as well, folks, a good shot at that pronunciation, Darren. Abigail Temple Asoko, I think it is. Is that right, Michelle? You might have.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, Abigail Temple Asoko. I've just been watching a few of her performances. Like Darren said, I know she came up from minor, but I mean, what an amazing sign of a player that she can come in and into the full-back position in a senior team and be so dominant and so fearless. I mean, I've seen her in her tackling, in her tenacity, in her play. I mean, if you hadn't told me beforehand she'd come up from minor, I would have said she's someone who's there playing with a number of years, but absolutely brilliant to see. Donegal, I suppose the question we might have had about Donegal after last year was, did they have that youth, and they were still maybe, we've seen Karen Guthrie and the McLaughlins and the Hegartys there, and just maybe an injection of a few more onto that, where maybe it was one of the things we might have mentioned last year, and just to see the likes of her coming through now with Donegal, and I suppose that blend seems to have settled for them now come the championship. I mean, there are some big names we haven't even really seen featured that much yet for them. So it shows that Maxi is going with, that youth and that maybe agility and that fearlessness that comes with starting off playing county. And then when experienced heads are needed, they're there on the bench if required.
Absolutely. Just on Abigail as well, Michelle. Her dad is Finn Harp's legend, Eloka Asoko. In 1993, he was part of the Nigerian squad that won the Under-17 World Cup alongside the likes of future superstars JJ Okocha, you'll remember him, Kanu, who played for Arsenal, and Celestine Babayaro, who was in the Premier League as well. So there is one hell of a story. It was actually Maxi mentioned as well. She won an Ulster Senior and an Ulster Minor medal within 8 days this year, and she won Player of the Match in the minor final, and she kept Kelly Mallon scoreless in the senior final. So absolutely a player to look out for, and will be one of the key players, obviously, as they try to keep Dublin at bay, who are well able to rack up scores as well. Right, so Darren, back to you.
Jackie, just when you mentioned,
go on, Darren, sorry.
Just when you mentioned that, imagine her battle with Hannah Tyrrell if that works out. That's going to be a massive battle. Youth and experience, off we go. Sure, that alone is worth getting the Ballybofey if you're anywhere near there.
As the old saying goes, Darren, throw in the ball and let him at it. Yeah, absolutely. So Darren, you're going for Dublin, right? So and briefly, Darren. So Dublin against Donegal, right? So give me your Armagh versus Cork. Who's winning that?
Armagh against Cork again. It's like another very, very tough one. Armagh have a point to prove after 2 disappointing quarterfinal performances. Cork with the form team of the year, I felt, before they lost to Galway, but they responded well against Tipperary. Up in the athletic grounds, tough one. I will go with Cork again, shading it.
Right. Okay. So that's I'm going to mark these down now, right? As some ammunition for so Dublin for you and Cork, Darren. Okay. So Meath and Kerry.
I look Meath are the All-Ireland champions, but they've had a difficult year as well. They're trying to get themselves back on track, but losing to Donegal, the 2 late points. Kerry are the form team. There's so many threats there. I think in the fact it's in Tralee, Kerry.
Right, okay. And Galway against Mayo now. Take off the Galway hat.
Don't they always? Look, Mayo have to deal with a couple of injuries coming to this game, whether they clear up as well. Their form overall this year hasn't been good, bar the Connacht final. They've only won 4 games, and they'll be disappointed to let the Armagh game slip the first day. It's in Pearse Stadium. Galway will have the Connacht final as motivation. Their form seems to be back. They have to go with Galway.
And Mayo will have this as motivation now. Thanks, Darren. So Michelle, so Darren is going Dublin, Cork, Kerry and Galway. Any deviation there for you?
Well, I've already said Kerry, so I'm agreeing with Dublin. I think they will have too much for Donegal overall. And I think, any struggles that maybe we perceive Dublin to have at times, maybe not playing entirely up to the standard we're used to. I mean, the last day when they introduced Niamh Henderson at halftime and the impact she had, settling things, and Carla Rowe really coming into the game. So I do think overall, I think Dublin are going to have a little bit too much for Donegal. It's the other two that I'm probably struggling the most with. I was on radio last week on Game On with Marie Crowe, and I tipped Armagh versus Cork. And part of my judgment on that was the possibility of Ciara O'Sullivan been missing. We know now she's going to be playing. And I think that is a massive boost for Cork as well. Like Emer, I would have felt that they were going to produce a little bit more come championship time. And I was impressed with how Galway held them off at the end of the first game. So I'm going to maybe reverse what I said on national radio last week and maybe give the tip of the hat to Cork as the game gets closer. That's the way the feeling is going.
Okay, and Galway Mayo.
And then Galway Mayo. I was at the Mayo Laois game, and I have to say that I was very, very impressed with Mayo's transition, counter-attack, speed, their direct route of play. And I know what Darren said, they've only won 4 games this year. And interesting enough, all those 4 games have been in McHale Park, been in Mayo, been in McHale Park. So that could be a factor as well. But I feel maybe if they play with that speed of attack and speed in their counter-attack and that forward press, that it's going to potentially pose Galway problems. I think Galway prefer a slightly more relaxed build-up, a slightly more relaxed style. And the problems that Kerry posed them when they were moving that ball fast up the field, I'm going to, even though my 2 Galway counterparts here are with me, I'm going to slightly tip Mayo.
Okay. So Darren is Dublin, Cork, Kerry, Galway, and Michelle is Dublin, Cork, Kerry, Mayo. So Emer, over to you.
Yeah, that's a hard one to take there, Michelle. But yeah, look, I do, I suppose, thinking back to, I suppose, witnessing the Kerry Galway, the Galway Mayo game in Castlebar. Galway were so stumped by Mayo's, their dominance in the first half. They just controlled every area, I did hear of talks of maybe injury or 2 in the Mayo camp. If that's the case, maybe, it would give a huge advantage to Galway. But considering, I suppose, the home advantage, I do think is going to be huge for Galway. And especially after they had, a great performance against Cork not so long ago in Pearse Stadium. I would hope that Galway have learned, I suppose, from their mistakes, and they've rebuilt, and that they can get one back on Mayo. I suppose that bit of revenge would be very sweet on this occasion. So I'd have to go for Galway.
Okay, and then for the other games, in a nutshell, Emer, is it going to be Armagh or is it going to be Cork?
Yeah, I think Cork will just have a bit too much for Armagh. I just don't think their consistency will hold out against Cork. I think they'll have learned from their mistake maybe in Pearse Stadium, and that'll be this banana skin of the season for Cork. But I'd say they'll tip that one.
And Donegal or Dublin?
Yeah, that's the one I don't know, the momentum that Donegal have at the moment. I don't know, maybe I'd swing in Donegal's favour on that occasion.
Okay.
Maybe a draw.
Kerry or Meath?
And yeah, I think Kerry will have to show their form. Meath might, like Michelle alluded to earlier, just have had maybe enough to deal with, and I'd say their run, I suppose their great run might come to an end, unfortunately. But I think Kerry just might have enough for them in Kerry this weekend.
Okay, so we have consensus on Cork and Kerry, and we have a little bit of variation on Donegal, Dublin, and Galway Mayo. So Darren and Michelle are going for Dublin, and Emer's going for Donegal, and then obviously Emer and Darren are going for Galway and Michelle for Mayo. So let's see how all of that pans out. And I've saved that into my notes here on my phone. So we might see the results of that at a future date.
That's the game I'm actually working at, Jackie, Galway and Mayo. So I could have my I could have people up at me at the end of that game asking a few questions. We'll see.
As we'd say down around here, Michelle, you might be ran out of the place after.
Exactly.
Sure, all forwards will be there. We'll have to have a cup of tea afterwards.
all in a friendly manner, of course, Darren. Absolutely. So, Darren, we also have, and I'll leave the last word to you on this. We also have 3 All-Ireland Under-16 finals on Sunday. You're heading along to Duggan Park and Ballinasloe for Kerry, Sligo, a short hop for you. Cork and Cavan in the A final, and Antrim Clare in the C final as well. So best wishes to all of the teams competing there. We have minor semi-finals next week. It's all just bubbling up, Darren, to a very exciting end to the inter-county season.
Oh, most certainly, Jackie, as well. And even as you mentioned, those under-16 finals, I'm delighted that they're on a Sunday as well, especially to help attendance, because underage matches are usually well supported. And it's great to see Cavan playing an A final. I know they've been coming through the ranks in recent years. It's not their first, but it's great to see them there too. And Sligo was well playing in the B final too. And Clare and Antrim, no doubt, will be a great tasty affair as well. So looking forward to seeing young talent coming through as well. And even as you mentioned there, Jackie, at the minor semi-finals next week, of course, Galway beat Mayo in the Connacht minor final last night too. I think they're up against Monaghan next Wednesday, and there'll be a spread of counties involved as well. And it's great to see them out there with the Ethans along this time of the year too. And Kildare and Cork, the other A semi-final as well, taking place on Wednesday night. So great opportunity. But really looking forward to seeing Kerry and Sligo myself on Sunday.
Yeah, there's some cracking matches in store, Darren. Those minor semi-finals next week in the A, as you rightly say, Galway, Monaghan, Kildare, Cork. Then in the B, Sligo, Cavan, Dublin, Kerry. And in the C, Leitrim, Donegal, Westmeath, Waterford, all July 19. All games at 7:30. And so lots to look forward to, folks. So we'll see how your predictions fare out for the weekend that's coming ahead of us. Should be some cracking fare. So thank you very much for coming on the call today. Darren Kelly from Galway Bay FM, a well-known reporter in that neck of the woods. Michelle Ryan, former Waterford star, and Emer Flaherty, former Galway star. Wish you well, folks. And
just before you set up, just before we finish up, a big happy birthday to our co-analyst here, Caoimhe Marley Morgan. I was listening to her very overly generous, kind words on the podcast last week, in fairness to her, but a big happy birthday to her. I know it's her birthday today, I think it is.
It is. We echo those sentiments. I sent her a message earlier on. She couldn't join the call today. She was away, and I said, "Happy birthday, I believe?" ? And she sent back the monkey covering his face emoji. So yes, it is indeed her birthday, and we give a big shout out to Caoimhe. And thanks for that, Michelle, because it would have been remiss of us not to mark it. So folks, thanks for your time today. Good to see you, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Guys.